6:02, I'd like to call the Association meeting to order. First thing, Secretary's report. Any questions on the Secretary's report? Get a motion to approve?
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Secretary's report is approved. Treasurer's report.
Now, okay, for our three accounts we have here, this is always the low here. Since we don't, year membership dues going in for a couple months, so our
Restrictions did meet with lawmakers this
21, but there's no expense
and meeting on Capitol Hill. He did not get any of these.
for a while. The Robert Smith Fund is the fund that we use for the contributions to gifts we make in Village Day and a lot of events. The $19,244.31. So we should be in the next a couple months, be getting the bills to start paying for the all these expenses for the summer events. And our savings account, money market fund, which we have in a Vanguard money market fund, $3,056.80. So between the three accounts, we have about a little over $23,000, and I'm not sitting on any bills right now. So.
Any questions for Al? Get a motion to approve the Treasurer's report? Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Treasurer's report is approved. Cindy, OBPA.
Okay, hi. As we all know, we lost power for 4 days in the village from the recent blizzard. But despite all that and seeing the damage, it's amazing that we were actually up and running in 4 days because there's a lot of tree damage and everything else. It's been a hard time for the businesses, but the town did a great job of removing snow and getting us back online quickly. The library opened Wednesday as a warming shelter. We were opened at 8 a.m. because we have the full house generator. We had people outside with their Vitamixes and coffee grinders and things. Brought them all in. It was a charging station and warming station. Then eventually the next day we had our internet fully back. So we're able to serve the village in that way. We have a mailing going out this week, just kind of postponed it a week because of everything going on with membership dues, the updated brochure, which is going to be in red, white, and blue. And some other information about what's going on with OBPA. Village Day, the theme is red, white, and blue in honor of COMM and their 100th anniversary. We're going to make this a really beautiful red, white, and blue patriotic Village Day. The annual meeting will be at the Wano Club on June 4th. Fall Festival and Christmas Stroll are in process. The new website is up, ostervillevillage.com. And that's pretty much it. I'll let us get on with the meeting, but everything is.
What's the date of the Village Day again? I'm sorry.
Village Day is July 18th.
July 18th.
Thank you very much, Cindy. Appreciate everything that you do. Any questions for Cindy? Okay, very pleased to have our guest speaker today, Fire Chief Patrick Hill, who will fill us in a little bit on the doings of COMM Fire District. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you. Cindy, I don't want to mess anything up here. So
You're fine.
Okay. So before I begin, I just want to touch base on that storm that we just spoke of. A wild storm, and I've never been more proud of the men and women of the COMM Fire Department than I was this past week. To kind of touch base on some numbers, over a 3-day span, our dispatch center answered 500 calls for service. It's one, maybe two dispatchers answering the phone for 500 calls over 3 days, which is remarkable. Our firefighters responded to 194 calls for service over those 3 days. Everything from building fires to routine emergencies, limbs down, trees down, wires down, everything in between. Even I myself had a blow-up mattress in my office. We didn't go anywhere. We were there for days and we were there to serve the public. And again, I just want to publicly commend the men and women of the COMM Fire Department. First, I'd like to thank Cindy Cotton and the members of the OBPA for allowing us this platform. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Patrick Hill, and I serve as the fire chief for the Centerville, Osterville, Marstons Mills Fire Department. I'm also a longtime Centerville resident, and joining me this evening is also my deputy chief, Michael Rogers, who is also a long-term resident of this district right here in Marstons Mills. This community is not just where I work, it's where I was raised. It's where my family lives, and it's where my children are growing up. This is where I've chosen to lay down my roots. This connection matters to me, and it shapes every decision that I make as your fire chief. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity. This year, our department is celebrating a milestone that very few organizations ever reach: 100 years of service to the people of Centerville, Osterville, and Marstons Mills. When this department was founded in 1926, things were a lot different, and the village of Marstons Mills wasn't even adopted yet. We responded to about 45 calls a year. The district was smaller, the risks were different, and the demands on the fire service were much more limited. Today, we respond to about 5,400 calls annually, and that number continues to rise year after year. Honoring our past means being honest about how much our community has changed and what it takes to protect this community now and into the future. Our district is growing in real ways, and we're seeing it every single day. With sewer expansion underway, we're seeing more proposed developments, we're seeing higher density housing, and newer projects coming forward that will bring residents into this community. That growth directly impacts emergency response. More residents means more calls. Denser developments means more complex incidents and the likelihood of multiple emergencies happening all at the same time. The job itself has also changed. Modern construction, heavier equipment, advanced medical care, and emerging hazards like solar field installations and lithium-ion battery systems. These things require more firefighters on scene to operate safely and effectively. If our community continues to grow without adding additional staffing to support it, risk naturally increases. Now, I want to be clear. There isn't just one specific project or development that has pushed this agenda. This is decades in the making, and it's something that we should have kept up with year after year. By increasing our staffing now, we're putting ourselves in a much better position currently, as well as into the future. The last staffing increase for our department occurred in 1999-2000, nearly 27 years ago. Since that time, our call volume has increased by approximately 64%, and the complexity of those calls has increased even more. Yet our staffing model has remained essentially unchanged. The result is that fewer firefighters are handling much more of a workload, often with less recovery time and narrower safety margins. To keep staffed ambulance in service, we rely heavily on callbacks and overtime. When an ambulance is committed, which happens frequently, roughly 15 times a day, off-duty firefighters are called in on overtime to maintain coverage. If someone's delayed in responding, or if no one's available to come in, the coverage for our district is reduced or delayed. That creates uncertainty and increased risk. It also drives up overtime costs and added strain to our personnel. Our members do an outstanding job of stepping up, and this model is not sustainable long-term, and it's certainly not fiscally responsible. By increasing staffing, we would have dedicated crews consistently in the district, significantly reducing the need to rely on callbacks and overtime while improving reliability and response coverage. In the fire service, readiness is measured by nationally recognized standards, not just opinions. NFPA 1710 establishes minimum staffing deployments and response criteria for career fire departments. These standards are designed to ensure that critical tasks, such as fire attack, search, ventilation, and rapid intervention, can occur safely, simultaneously. At our current staffing levels, we do not consistently meet these standards. That is not a reflection of effort, I can tell you that. It's simply a staffing limitation that no longer matches the workload or the risk profile for this district. When I stepped into this role as fire chief, I made a commitment to the community and to the members of this department that my priority is and always will be the safety of the people we serve and the firefighters who serve them. This community has strong expectations of reliable, professional emergency response, and rightly so. Being community focused means recognizing where improvements are needed and taking responsible steps to address them. With all that in mind, I will be proposing the addition of 16 new firefighters, hired at a rate of 8 firefighters per year over the next 2 years. This will be further broken down into 4 separate hirings of 4 as to not disrupt or overload our current staff. The number 16 is important. We currently operate with 4 groups. Hiring 16 will bring an additional 4 firefighters per group, which allows us to staff an additional apparatus at all times. This phased approach is measured and is fiscally responsible. It allows us to strengthen our staffing, reduce overtime dependency, improve coverage reliability, and provide a safer workload condition for our firefighters. At a time when some neighboring communities are facing major capital projects costing tens of millions of dollars, we're not asking for new stations or large infrastructure. We're asking for people. This is not an expansion for expansion's sake. It's a necessary correction to restore balance between workload, safety, and community expectations. To close out, proper staffing reduces overtime costs. It lowers injury risk and it improves morale. It strengthens retention, provides more consistent coverage to our residents. As we reflect on 100 years of service, this request is about honoring that legacy by preparing responsibly for the future. This is about protection. Protection for our residents, protection for our firefighters, and protection for a district that's continuing to grow. I believe in this community, I believe in our members, and I believe that meeting recognized safety standards and providing consistent coverage is not optional. It's our responsibility. I respectfully ask for your support. I'm happy to answer any questions now, or feel free to reach out to me anytime if I can answer anything. Thank you.
I have a question.
Please.
How many of your staff are EMTs and how many are firefighters?
All of our staff are firefighters, and it's a mix between EMTs and paramedics. So we're cross-trained in EMS.
Question. You mentioned that you hadn't had any hirings like since what, 99?
97.
97.
99, 2000.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I know you've just been in this position recently, but why, like in the past, why weren't there hirings? I'm just curious.
A great question. I can't speak for what happened in the past. My plan is to look forward to the future and how we can correct those changes. Now, there's a misconception there that we haven't hired. Of course, we've hired people as people have retired or resigned.
Yeah.
We just haven't increased our staffing in that time, when many departments around us have.
Chief, can you talk about revenue and how this would be paid for?
Sure, absolutely. So this will go into our fire tax, which will actually increase our taxes. And I have some numbers for everybody as well. For every 500,000. So for example's sake, your average $1 million house, the taxes will go up roughly $114.
Okay.
Yes, John.
What is your total staff right now?
Right now, total staff, we have 48 line firefighters, 53 total, including chief and deputy.
Patrick,
Yes.
you mentioned that there is cross training, but aren't there two categories of EMTs? And I've forgotten what they are, but some are more specialized than others. What are those two categories?
Absolutely. We have our EMS officer, Jason. Would you like to divulge into that one?
So we have, in our department, we have basic EMTs, and then we have paramedic. And we also have, in between, they have advanced, and we have two members who are advanced. They can do some skills at the advanced life support level, but they're mostly basic, if that makes sense. So they can start training.
They're not mostly paramedic.
Correct. What they can do that is additional, that an EMT cannot do, start in the intravenous line.
Right.
You give a few medications, whereas a paramedic can give a whole course of that medication.
And how many of each? How many EMTs?
So we roughly have, it's about half and half. There's about 26 EMTs
Oh.
and the rest are paramedics.
Wow.
Out of the 52.
Wow. And are these positions that you're hiring for? I know the Barnstable Police had the problem with the civil service. These aren't civil service positions.
No, they are not. Nope.
And where you'll target recruiting from for some of the newer, you'll get some new EMTs, but will you hire from other departments? or-
We will. We think that's important. It's important to have experienced people as
Right.
well. We try to have a mixed bag. It's always good to bring in some green people that are fresh and new, but I think it's important to also hire experienced firefighters. And sometimes that means taking them from other departments as well.
Right.
So what can we do to support you in this?
So we'll have the vote in May at the district meeting. There'll be an article for the addition of 16 new firefighters. So if that article passes, we'll be able to push forward with this.
Is that the May annual meeting?
Yes.
And it's the supervisory board, Carlton and company, and they set up on the big stage. Same thing, I went to
Yeah.
that meeting once, about 6 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
But is it the supervisory board that approves this?
It'll be a vote. It'll be a district-wide vote.
Oh, so all the taxpayers.
Correct.
Oh.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we'll have to go to the fire station or wherever to cast our.
It'll be at 1875 Falmouth Road in Centerville. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Headquarters station.
In-
That's in May.
That's awesome.
And that'll be posted.
Oh.
And again, it's increasing staffing, which hasn't been done in quite some time, as I mentioned. Our workload has increased 64% over that time. And to put it into perspective, if an ambulance goes out or if an ambulance is committed or going to the hospital, those areas are being left unprotected if nobody comes in on overtime. That's a scary thought. If I take my fire chief hat off for a second, and I'm talking as a district member and as a father, that scares me. That scares me to think that those areas could be unprotected. So to have an additional apparatus, an ALS engine that could be available at all times would be beneficial to the
How
district.
many ambulances do you have?
We have 5. We have 3 frontline and we have 2 spare ambulances.
And 1 or 2 of them are pretty new, right?
We have 2 new ones, correct? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And those ambulances are on the move constantly. As I mentioned, they do about 15 calls a day. They're going back and forth to the hospital at all times.
And the COMM space is pretty spread out.
It is.
How many square miles is COMM?
26?
26. And Barnesville as a whole is 40
I
something?
couldn't tell you that, Hector. I'm not sure. 62. Britt, thank you.
So you have 3 stations.
We have 3, Centerville, Osterville, and Marstons Mills, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And our stations are great. They're in great shape, and I can thank the people before me for that.
Yeah.
The station was built in 1990, our headquarters station, with a 100-year plan in mind. So it was built with room for expansion. And now here we are 27 years later, trying to expand.
Yeah.
So I can thank them for that. The price of a new station is pretty steep nowadays.
Chief, I've seen the signs up in the mills and on Centerville for, your hiring and so forth. Have you had responses from those signs?
Yes. So what those signs are, that's not part of this 16, obviously. That's because someone's due to retire. So we have an open job posting right now. Of that job posting, I believe we got 27 applications. Great. Quite frankly, people want to work for COMM Fire Department. We're a great department to work for. We expect those numbers to continue.
So personally, I would support this, very happily. I'm just wondering what we can do to, help spread the word and to support this obviously necessary addition.
Well, I'll start by saying thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you and all of you.
The best way you could support would be to show up to that May meeting
Show up to
and
the meeting.
to show your vote. Other than that, we're trying to get the word out, whether it be social media. We have Facebook pages, other social media platforms that we try to get the word out and just try to spread a word of positivity of why this is necessary.
Do you know the date of that meeting, Chief?
I don't. I believe it could be May 18th. I don't want to give you a wrong date. I'll be sure to follow up with you though and give you an exact
And the
date.
vote will be at the meeting. It's not like we go and cast our ballots.
That's correct. It's right on the
So
spot.
it'll be a call and people raise their hands.
That's correct.
Oh, you don't go to the polling place?
No.
Oh, you just vote at the meeting?
In-person meeting. Yep. Votes take place on spot. Yep, that's correct.
And do you need a certain number of people to show up to have the vote be valid?
We don't have a quorum anymore. So the more people that come, the better.
Yeah.
So the people in this room could solve your problem.
Absolutely. As long as you live within the walls of Centerville, Osterville, Marstons Mills, yes.
And will this be spelled out in a mailing that will come to all of us in advance?
Yes, it will. It'll be in the annual pamphlet of the
And when
book.
is that sent out?
I don't know, Hector, but I will find out and make sure that I give you that
A month
information.
ahead of time.
Yeah, I think it's even more time than that, but I'll be sure to follow up with you and make sure you know that. But yes, all that information will be readily available.
Wow.
Stacy?
I think it's a no-brainer.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I am curious, is there any funding available to you from the state, the county? And also I'm curious, you mentioned earlier that with all of this density, you mentioned density and other kinds of projects, you need different kinds of equipment. Well, where does that money come from?
So we don't need any additional equipment right now. We're actually pretty fortunate to have what we have. What we really need is people.
Just
That's what
not
we really
vote.
need.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
And is there any revenue available at the state level?
For staffing for us, no, there wouldn't be. Yeah, that would be on us as a fire district to come up with that.
Right.
Yeah, how long do those fire trucks, like, what's the lifespan of the ambulance truck?
The ambulances, we try to do every 6 years, Jay, is that right?
Correct.
We're on a pretty good plan right now,
Cost, I guess, but a fully equipped ambulance?
$475,000. Fully equipped with everything we need. And that number continues to rise. That's the number today. If you were to ask me next year, that number could be different. And that's a tough spot that we're in too, because our hands are kind of tied. We don't have many different options of vendors that we can go to.
And the big trucks?
A ladder truck is roughly $2 million and an engine is roughly 1.2 million.
And how long do they last?
10 years or so. Well, our current ladder truck right now is well over 20 years old, but it was also refurbished and we're waiting for a new one. Anticipated date of 2028 will be.
Now, are those things already built into the budgets of the towns?
Correct. That article was passed a few years ago. Yep.
Do you have a marine unit? If somebody is in distress offshore?
We do. Yes, we have Marine One, which is located right in Osterville here.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
That's an old Coast Guard vessel.
Oh,
Chief, I thought you explained everything really well. One thing I would say is it sounds like at least some of the funds are already there. That'll kind of limit any objections to this because in theory, if you add more people, you reduce overtime. So there's gonna be a balance there somewhere. So even though you're talking about 16 new people, you know, some of your existing people are already those people,
Right on.
just with their OTs.
Yep, you're right on. But that's one thing that I don't want to promise to anybody. I don't want to promise that our overtime is going to go down, but I think it's
No, but I mean, logically.
Logically, it
there's some
should.
balance.
correct. Thanks for bringing that up. It's a great point.
Absolutely.
Peter?
Chief, one more question. Does the state mandate, like, you're hiring 16 more, is there a plan or an equation for population versus fire stations versus?
There's not. If you look it up, it's all over the place. There's places with a heavier population with less firefighters, and there's the opposite. There's smaller places that have more firefighters. So it's really up to the individual town. The one thing they try to do is maintain NFPA 1710, which is simply just a standard, but every department should try to strive to reach that.
Thank you.
Of course.
So, in Osterville, a good percentage of the houses here are only inhabited a couple months out of the year.
Mhm.
Is that a problem? Maybe something happens with a wire or something or light or whatever, that when these houses, empty houses or non-occupied houses gets on fire or no problem?
Sure. I mean, we respond to houses like that all the time that are just summer homes. We still have the responsibility to go and check it out. And, all depends on what we find is what we end up doing.
Yeah, many of those houses have caretakers or alarm systems that notify us of emergencies, so.
Yeah.
We can still respond. Okay.
It's also worth noting that a lot of those homes are bigger than most commercial buildings. I mean, if you take a ride into Oyster Harbors, a lot of those homes are the size of a pretty large commercial structure. So it's another thing to keep in mind is, you know, having a right amount of personnel to make it all the way to Oyster Harbors to fight a fire if need be.
To bring up a sore subject, offshore wind substation. And I don't mean to get into this, but the Save Greater Dowses Beach group spent a fair bit of time with your predecessor. And I think you and I spoke a few months ago, or maybe in sort of shortly after you were hired, said we would want to sit down with you and update you. And if you're open to that, we'd like to come in at some point.
Absolutely.
Because your predecessor, as you probably know, did a lot of research, substation fires and underground cable fires under the road and so forth. So believe it or not, and I know you have other things to worry about, but these projects are still trucking along. They may start after Trump leaves office, but the Craigville Beach project, that's been fully permitted. And we're fighting that. And then of course the Dowses project. At any rate, I think it would be helpful to have a dialogue with you about.
Absolutely.
Bring you and your deputy chief.
Yep, he's sitting right there. Yep.
We obviously spent a lot of time with your predecessor in Byron. So,
I remember.
yeah.
Yep.
So maybe we'll reach out to you.
Absolutely, Hector. Look forward to it.
Construction of the roads, how many more of the sewage?
I'm sorry, say that again.
All the construction in the roads because of all the sewage Sewage pipes going in, that's.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a whole nother.
yeah. So, all right, good, we'll do that.
Like I said, the district is growing in very real ways.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's so important that you took the time to come in. Because I can't tell you, I don't know how long I've been on the board here, maybe 10 years. But how many times someone like yourself comes in and makes people in the room aware of things that we probably should be aware of, but we're not. Like the big thing that you said was, we haven't hired anyone new since 1999, 2000. So how could anybody possibly object to your proposal? And anybody who would hasn't been listening to what you're saying. So, this happens over and over, whether it's members of the public, they say, oh, well, what's going on with the Bay School? There's some kind of playground going in over there, whatever. Yeah, well, we've been working on that for 20 years now.
Yeah.
Or, crosswalks in the village.
Yeah.
These things tend to drag out unnoticed unless somebody comes in and says something.
Thank you. Yep,
So,
happy to do it.
local guy, you're not just carrying flag for your own family, because you live here, but for all of us too. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I would like to thank you for you and all your first responders for what happened last week. You guys were amazing. And I'd like to thank you for saving my husband's life in the middle of the night a few years ago. It's struck me personally how good the COMM fire department
We truly appreciate that. Thank you.
really good fire department. So thank you all. Thank you all.
One of the best fire departments in the Commonwealth.
Yeah, it is.
I'm a little bit biased, but I do truly believe that. Well, if there's no further questions, thank you very much. And again, feel free to reach out anytime.
Investigating and finding any threats to the homeland here within our borders.
This is Rick. I just wanted to suggest maybe the chief might want to come back in the summer when we have more people that can hear what he's doing for the community.
I think maybe the annual meeting about responsibility.
Okay, I'm back.
Rick, what's your question?
Come back.
Come back when there's a.
You're just saying, come back when there's more people around. Because
During the summer.
I'm speaking to you via Zoom, Chief.
Yeah, I was saying to Peter earlier, we'll come whenever you invite us. We're happy to spread the word of what's going on with COMM Fire Department anytime. As you mentioned, it's important. There's a lot of information that needs to be relayed that most people don't know about. So we're happy to do
so
so.
live in the dark and let's turn on the light.
Correct.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
August
Thank you.
12th, 6 o'clock is the end of the meeting.
It's May.
August 12th.
The agenda should be May.
Nothing's normal here, trust me.
All right, we can't party with me.
Okay, next on the agenda, John Crowe, Town Council report.
While I have the chance and Chief is still here, I want to thank you on behalf of the town also and the other villages that you serve. We had a big snow last year, this past week, and it's been a remarkable way it's worked. And I've also had the opportunity of taking a ride on one of your ambulances to the hospital. That's right, in town. But you guys are quick to respond, and so I appreciate that. All of you.
Thanks, John.
Because of the storm, we didn't have a meeting last week. The prior meeting was the 12th of February. And most of that meeting was concentrated on the downtown Hyannis zoning issues. A couple of those, 2 or 3 were passed about changing the downtown zoning. One was we decided to go from was required 1 parking space per building per unit, dwelling unit in downtown to 1.5, which makes a whole lot of difference. This could affect when they voted on this zoning a while back, and we're sort of going over that and seeing what the problems are. That was one thing we passed. And also, I was talking last time we met about one of the counselors having written a letter to the housing authority on his own using town stationery, town letterhead, which includes every town councilor. And this wasn't made clear to the council when it was done. So we put amendment that now every councilor will have their own letterhead going forward to stop that kind of activity in the future. So we know who's speaking for the council and who's speaking for himself. So that was passed. We are still we've still got 2 or 3 ordinances in downtown on zoning, and we'll get to those at the next meeting. And so far, we've been successful in some of the things we've done to sort of peak growth to a reasonable level downtown IS. And I think that's necessary because some of the proposed zoning in the past asked for 4-story buildings, and it's a little bit takes away from what we believe that high-end should be in every other community here. So we're done with that, and I want to let the Osterville people know that this is something that's coming up. There was a meeting of the Town of Barnstable Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan, the ad hoc committee. One of the things they're starting to talk about is IA systems for your septic. And those systems some of those will be required, or they're trying to require those nostrils. They're still talking about it. That should be something on the radar going forward.
It's an IA.
It's an alternative septic system. The one that Z. Crocker has been proposing for 3 years, where it cuts down the amount of effluent coming out of the system, and they're the next generation. They're extremely expensive right now, they're about 65,000. Oh, property. And so it may come to a time where they decide certain properties, both in Osterville and other villages, will need to do those. And
But are we putting in sewers?
yes, we are
Not everywhere.
not everywhere. That's the point. And some of the areas that are not sewers are less, let's say, less dense, and more property, say Oyster Harbor, for example. And they're right on the water, so I'm not sure if that'll be included, but I just want this to be out there so people can keep an eye on where.
They're also used 6 weeks a year.
6 weeks a year. And-
It doesn't make any sense.
Yes, but so those are some of the issues we're dealing with coming down, and that's all I have now. It's been quiet because we've had a week off or 2 weeks off. And like I said, we'll get back to the finishing the downtown zoning. We're going to be talking about one of the issues that is very controversial, building heights. And so that was not resolved at the last meeting. We pushed it to the next council meeting. And so we'll see where that goes. Right now, there are about 54 feet, be the highest you can do according to what is zoned from the past. And we finally got some pictures that were done by a citizen who paid for those by himself, which were 3D drawings of what or representations of what 40, 50, 60 foot buildings would be next to what's already there in high ends. When you get that look, it sort of gives you a different idea of what we're talking about. It gives you more perspective. So there's a group that wants to see somewhere around 40, 42 feet as the height. And that would be up to the peak of the building. Used to be measured by up to the highest gutter level. It's called something I can't.
The plate?
The plate.
Yeah.
Okay, but then you could have this huge peak if you go another 15 feet. So now we're measuring all, talking from the same book on what heights are versus stories. So that's something to keep an eye on. So there's some people want somewhere as low as 40, some want 48, 49. We're discussing that in the ad hoc committee, and those will also be brought forward I believe the next meeting.
Yeah, John?
Any questions?
Yeah, I've been going to the hospital a couple of times. Actually, quite a lot, because my mother's been there the last couple of weeks there, and noticed like two big, huge developments are building down there, one in East Main and one right on the water. What is that gonna do, or does the town have any idea what that's gonna do for traffic or some parking or?
That wasn't, let me just say, from personal, I don't think they did a lot of planning as for congestion in that area. The hospital area itself and the, where 200 Main, which is the old town building. And across the street, we have the Cascade Hotel. That's a very huge building. This, and of course, we have other things like the Bornstein properties down by the water. I can imagine you can already not get out onto East Main from that, was it Camp Street or whatever, it's right there. Not the hospital like with the next just right at 200 Main, it's Cascade. It's almost impossible to get out of it now.
Yeah, that's in the middle of winter.
I know, and then we've got this huge building over there, so some of these things could have taken more thought, I'd say, in the past. It's gonna make it very, that's what we're trying to do, we're trying to put a sort of a limit on how high these buildings are and how much density.
How many units are going in there, doing it, the two big huge buildings?
In the Cascade,
I don't know, the Cascade, but
they said it the other night.
yeah.
Yeah. It's huge and it's incredibly ugly.
Yeah.
It's out of scale and it's the homeliest thing I've ever seen. And this is really a product of form-based zoning that went in. Some people were celebrating, but you see the result. It's a big ugly building that there's no setback at all. And all the parking is under the building. Which, that's why it looks like it's up on stilts.
Well, I totally hear you. In view of that building, it's one of the ugliest I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I every once in a while I would say we should have an architectural review board. Because everything we get is a rectangle with a cupola, and they call that New England.
Yeah.
And they're some of the ugliest buildings I've ever seen. And it's like a high school kid did them. Anybody could do them. But it would be nice if we had. I've been in residential area that had architecture review board, they were too strict. Okay, and down in the south, and every house in that development looked the same. And it was we didn't think it had, now it looks like 1960s, it didn't go that much. But this, I think we could use a little bit of common sense in directing having things look like they belong. Okay, and this form-based zoning, unfortunately, that's what we're trying to do. It sounds like I'm spending a lot of time and the council is not high hands, but that's what the issue is now. Because a lot of these things were proposed to come to other villages. And we've sort of, they've gotten off of that. We've said we don't want to see that in other villages, the form-based zoning. And people come here we get away from that. So, but Hyannis unfortunately is getting inundated, so. We're doing our best to scale it down a little bit, make it more livable from what has been proposed.
Any other questions for John? John, actually, I have a question on that, the CCB&T building. That's been permitted, correct, for housing?
Right on the corner of Pleasant.
Yeah, the old CCB&T.
Yeah.
Old Colony, Main Street.
Yeah. What building?
Old Colony.
Main Street. I have not heard of what's going, I know they're going to redo that building, but I haven't seen plans. And I don't know exactly how they're going to do it.
Well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Supposed to be housing, yeah.
But the council hasn't seen it, go see that then.
Not yet. I said I will.
Any other questions for John? Thank you, John, really appreciate it, everything you do. Old business, Suzanne, you wanna?
Sure, do my regular update on Save Greater Dowses Beach. We did communicate with the state, giving them all the data from our EMF monitoring project. Wrote to Rebecca Tepper, who's Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs, asked her to respond, and she has not, which is not a big surprise. They did respond to Mr. Ells and said they don't see a problem. So the state has no intention of coming down and monitoring the EMF coming off of the two cables from Vineyard Wind. And of course, the bottom line is Vineyard Wind understated, underestimated, undermodeled what the EMF would be off those cables with 62 turbines turning. So that's, full nameplate capacity. They said it would be here. What we've discovered is that with between 9 and say 21 turbines regularly turning, it's here. So we don't know what's going to happen when all turbines are online. And of course, nameplate is different from capacity. Capacity is going to be between 45 and 55% of the turbines operating at any given time. But still, the EMF levels we're registering with our monitors is much higher than they ever stated. So that's where that is. We're going to continue monitoring for the thermal effect of those cables, which is again startling. We have imaging equipment that shows how hot those cables are on the ground. What they do, if you go over to Cobbles, you'll see that where the cables come in and the two splicing bolts, it's all melted. That's the only place the snow's gone. All right, so we're really we're very interested in that because COMM Water is interested in that. So with Pete, and we'll be able to let COMM Water know what we're seeing, what we're registering. And that might be something our fire department might be interested in as well. So I'm glad you're here. Last week, while we were all trying to stay warm and keep the lights on, the House of Representatives up there on Beacon Hill passed a law that they refer to as an act for affordable energy and economic competitiveness and some other ridiculous name. I forget exactly. Oh, here it is. An act relative to energy affordability, clean power and economic competitiveness. And they said they were going to lower our bills. So what they did was they stripped $1 billion of unnecessary funding out of what's called the Mass Save Act, which you've seen on your bills, really driving up bills, which it's really a sort of distribution of wealth in terms of paying for energy. So they stripped what they said were unnecessary expenditures for the Mass Save Act. When you have unnecessary expenditures of $1 billion, you really should be looking closely at what you're doing. But that was, they were very proud of themselves for doing that. But the rest of the bill is really, from our work perspective, those of us who do not want to see these cables coming ashore in our town, to the extent they plan, the other things were not good. They doubled down on the net zero dogma. They rejected many amendments that attempted to restore sense to the state's energy policy. And the worst thing from our perspective is they've inaugurated a state program to promote offshore wind projects, including planning, permitting, environmental studies, financing, power purchase agreements, and interconnection, which is usually ISO New England, as I've said before. But they want to take full control of that. And what I said tonight on Facebook, they have no jurisdiction over any of those things for offshore wind projects in federal waters. So do they plan to promote offshore wind in state waters? Will we be looking at turbines, within a 3.5 mile limit from the shoreline? Who knows? This is the craziest bill I've ever seen. So if you're interested, it's online, and page 17 has all the stuff. It's a 160 page bill. And page 17 has all the information about what they're planning to do with this new program to promote offshore wind. I did post it on the Save Greater Dowses Beach Facebook, so you can read it there. But as far as things are going in Washington, we don't have any good news there. The oil and gas industry has started to pressure the administration there to stop bullying offshore wind because of the so-called SPEED Act. The Speed Act in Washington is the same thing they did here in Massachusetts, speeding up permitting, citing and permitting. They want to do that at a federal level for energy projects. And the oil and gas industry feels like if we don't get the Speed Act, we can't drill, baby, drill to the extent, we want to at this point. So stop, this is what's holding up the Speed Act. Because people want to carve out offshore wind and say offshore wind is still going to be, what would the word be, curtailed by the federal government, but we'll pass the Speed Act for other forms of energy. And there's this, the half of the Congress doesn't want to do that, the other half does. So it's all political. I hate to say it, but this has just become so political. And a lot of common sense is out the window. I said to our lobbyists, just keep reminding people there are onshore impacts of offshore wind. And we're looking at, so I'm glad you guys are here to hear this. We're looking at the equivalent of 4.5 times what the former Pilgrim nuclear power plant put out under the streets of Barnstable. All extra high voltage. This is extra high voltage. It doesn't get stepped down till it gets to all those substations over the aquifer. And what we're finding is the EMF in some of the residential neighborhoods is really creating some alarm for us. We'll just keep fighting. I just, the idea of digging up Dowses Beach and putting 3 of these 400 megawatt cables in, it just keeps me up at night. And they're planning to start Craigville in the day after Labor Day this fall. So we're going to do everything we can to. We do have a lawsuit pending about their permit, their authorization to use Craigville. That's in Boston now. It's been appealed in Boston. So we'll see what that judge says. But we're just fighting this. We truly believe there are much better ways to a cleaner energy future. I don't know if you guys read the Wall Street Journal, but the administration is really seriously looking at building 10 gigabytes of electricity using Westinghouse's AP1000 third generation nuclear power plants.
There's a lot of them.
Huh?
We need a lot.
They would, there'd be about 10 of them they're planning because they're so efficient and they're so they're gravity based. So if there's any problem, you don't have that same operator situation going on. If there's a problem.
Yeah, these SMRs, they're not Chernobyl, they're not 3 Mile Island.
Correct.
1 generations more efficient than what they had back there.
Right, and other states are turning to SMRs and where all these data centers are going in, they're saying, sure, you can build a data center, but bring your own power. And those are the SMRs. You can roll those up, they're about the size of a trailer, a big trailer. You can roll those up, provide your own power instead of putting this on the backs of the ratepayers. And I did read in the Wall Street Journal that, there are people who are saying Maura Healey and her administration are starting to be all by themselves when it comes to continuing with this push. They're starting to experience some isolation. I'm not sure that the projects like Vineyard Wind that are mostly built will ever go away, but she's continuing to say New England Wind 1 and New England 2 won't happen as planned. And that's us. So that's it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Suzanne. Any questions for Suzanne?
May I just say, Chief and others, you are more than welcome to come to one of our regular meetings. And we can fill you in on everything. You can, share what your predecessor learned about all this. So that might be a good way to do it so we can all interact with you and the department and make sure you know what we know and vice versa. So
I do have one question about the state bill.
Yeah.
So past the House, it
right,
has to go to the Senate.
rubber stamp, yeah, and then Maura will sign it.
Right, and what do you think the timing is for that?
Oh, it's gonna be real quick. I swear to God, they put this together overnight. And I honestly think they know that the opposition to this is Cape Cod, right? And they put this together so quickly, rammed it through. It was a shock how fast it happened. So. Don't be fooled. It's not gonna save you any money. They actually baked in escalators for utilities and they actually said. They took the financing out of the world of finance and they said the ratepayers are going to pay for the offshore wind. So this is gonna cost us a lot of money, this bill.
Do that recently.
They did it Thursday during the, you know. My power came back on just as I read about it, so, but anyway,
Thank you, Suzanne,
Yeah.
and thanks for everything that you do, all the hard work and keeping up with all that. Anything on the new business you want to talk about? Okay, go to public comment. Like to hear from the public.
nice that you're all out here.
Well, this is great, thank you for coming out on a crappy night, the crappy past week. Any questions? Motion to adjourn.
So,